Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's session. My name is Danny, and I'm the event planner for the New York Reactor Space. Before we start, I have a few things to go over. Please take a moment to read our code of conduct. We seek to provide a respectful environment for both our audience and presenters. We encourage engagement in the chat, but please be mindful of your commentary, remain professional, and on topic. Useful links will be shared in the chat. The session is recorded and will be available on demand 24 to 48 hours on the Microsoft Reactor YouTube channel. Which brings us to today's session. It'll run for approximately 1 hour with time for questions throughout. I will now turn it over to our speaker for introductions.
Hello and welcome. Welcome to the kickoff event for the Microsoft Fabric and AI Learning Hackathon. So happy you're here. So happy you're here with us. I'm Jasmine Greenaway and I'm here with Paul DiCarlo, and we'll be walking you through the hackathon and what to expect and some of all the categories we're excited about and all the details that you'll need to learn more and get your hands and get started, get your hands on your first, or maybe your second, or maybe your third, or maybe your 100th hackathon project. So let's go ahead and dive in. So first off, I also want to just say we're super excited to be partnering with DevPost. Maybe some of you were at the Fabric AI Learning Hackathon earlier this year. This time around, we're focusing, or we're again still focusing on Microsoft Fabric, but we are collaborating with DevPost to bring you another cool hackathon with a bunch of cool prizes and details we'll get into later. So I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview of what to expect today in the hackathon in terms of timing. So first, the hackathon it kicked off today, of course. Registrations are open, so if you have not done that, go ahead and register after this live stream. I promise you'll have plenty of time, as you can see in the schedule here. Then on the 24th, we have a skills challenge for you to go ahead and level up your skills, opening on the 24th. So this, just to keep in mind, this is part of the requirement of this hackathon. And honestly, at the end of the day, it's going to benefit you to go through the skills challenge and learn a little bit more about Fabric. Every time I go through a skills challenge, I always learn a little bit more. You know, I feel like as advocates, Paul, you know, we feel like we know, a lot. We feel like we know enough, but then I feel like a skills challenge really gives me a little bit more to learn and understand. What do you think?
Agree. And sometimes it's just like, because you're made aware of some new thing, like now you feel compelled to try it, and it can make your project that much more cool to sprinkle in those extra things. So yeah, that's going to be really cool.
Exactly. Yeah. Copilot and Fabric was the one for me that really hooked me. And I was like, oh, wow, this makes life so much easier to be able to do that. I'm not a Power BI person. I'm still learning a lot about Power BI. And so being able to use Copilot and Power BI just really really opened my world on like analytics and the things that I can do, and made it super easy to get started. But moving on back to the challenge. So the completion deadline for the challenge is November 1st. So keep that in mind. Be sure to go through the skills challenge by then. And then submissions end on the 12th. So you have some time to finish up your challenge, and then as well, any last minute things that you need to do before you submit your project. You have like about 11 days after that, and we'll be here to guide you through that if you're new to using DevPost to submit your project. And then finally, on the 16th, winners will be announced. So if you want to learn a little bit more, you can go to microsoftfabric.devpost.com or that QR code, and you'll see that QR code throughout our presentation today.
So one of the interesting things too, Jasmine, I wanted to point out here is just in this schedule, right? Like we have September 24th, for those of us may be aware, is FabCon Europe is happening at that point in time, which You can kind of assume that there's going to be things announced there, things that are definitely going to be, we'd love to see them in your hacks, but we can't talk about them right now. So we don't know exactly what those are. And also you'll see here, this event sort of leads up to the next, what we would say, probable time frame for a range of announcements. So that'll be Microsoft Ignite. That'll be in November. So this is all running through that period. So a great opportunity and a cool timeline too for all the updates that'll be coming through for Microsoft Fabric.
Yes, it's an exciting time to be a developer. It's an exciting time to be working in data. So I hope you all are excited. Let me know in the chat if any of you are going to FabCon Europe. Would love to know. Or if there's anything that exciting that you're hoping to see in the upcoming features in Fabric, we want to hear from you. So moving on to the next thing we have going on. So you have us here as well, but we also have some more live streams coming to you. So these are going to be in the form of workshops. And what's really cool about these workshops is they actually map on to the categories that we have that we'll get into in detail. So as we go through the categories and you're thinking like, oh, that sounds like a category that I might want to enter, or maybe something I want to learn more about, these workshops are for you. So first we have building with generative AI in Microsoft Fabric. So if those of you who are a OpenAI fan, Azure OpenAI fan, just AI fan in general, and you're looking at how to put Fabric in the mix, this is a great session for you. Second is building AI applications with Azure SQL database and Microsoft Fabric. So our SQL Server and Azure SQL fans out there, you'll love this session. If you're curious, please come along. We'd love to have you. Third is the AI-powered business insight with Azure Cosmos DB mirroring. So mirroring is a feature within Fabric, allows you to take your database that you might have and be able to essentially replicate it in Fabric, so you can easily bring it in for things like analytics and reporting. So let me know in the chat if any of you have used mirroring. I'd love to hear from you. And then next we have unlocking innovations, latest updates in Azure Database for PostgreSQL. We know that Postgres is a really, really, really popular database at this time. So why not add Fabric into the mix? I'm really, really curious to see more and learn more about this particular topic and workshop. And then finally, how to submit and prepare for the hackathon. So this will be Paul and I. You'll see us again, and we'll help you kind of guide you through how to submit the hackathon, and also just we want to hear from you and hear how things have been going. So again, aka.ms/fabric hack to get all these details as well.
Yeah, so this what's great here too, the reactors sort of set up a nice registration page. So for those of you who've already sort of explored that link, which we'll drop in the chat here shortly, it's a single point of registration that's going to get you to all of the events. And if we choose to add additional ones, you'll get that notification and update straight to your inbox right before those go live. So really, really awesome opportunity there. And I just wanted to mention too, you know, if you're perceptive here and you're really looking at what we're putting together here, you know that this event is running between two really important time periods. And you're going to notice that just based on kind of the hint we've given to the categories, there's going to be a big focus on databases this time around. And that's going to likely be very telling for the future of the Microsoft Fabric product. So going forward, we also have a number of different opportunities. So these will be Q&A or AMA events that will be running on the Microsoft Tech community. These are they're new to Jasmine and I, but from what we understand, they're a great place where you can go to ask additional questions that may not have been answered on this live stream. So we're actually doing the first one of these tomorrow. So for people who maybe aren't able to attend this particular live stream and want to get a little bit more information and ask us questions in a live format, that will be available starting tomorrow. We'll have the first one. And then concluding after FabCon on October 8th, we will have another follow-up. And the idea behind this one is you're going to hear about things and you may have new questions like, hey, if I use feature XYZ, will that be sufficient for placement in a specific category? So we do have these coming up, and we may have more of them. We're actually going to see how successful these are because they're great points of check-in for our learners and those participating in the hackathon. Real quick, just before I jump over there, you'll see those here. If you do check out those links, they're on the Microsoft Tech community. And that live format will essentially be in the form of questions and answers that will appear here. So also for folks who are unable to attend, there will be a nice historical overview of the conversations we've had there. So we've mentioned this a few times. The Microsoft Fabric European Conference is kicking off and taking place in Stockholm, Sweden from September 24th through 27th. There's a lot going on here, and we expect a lot of new things to be announced with 130 sessions, 4 keynotes across each of the days, numerous workshops for people who will be there on site. Just an absolutely amazing event. And, we're not expecting everybody to be able to attend that in person, but I would say monitor things like the Fabric Updates blog, especially as we get near and into this time period, because that's where those things are going to hit and land, as well as social media channels. Follow Jasmine and myself for those going forward. But again, that big takeaway I want to mention here is we specifically timed this hackathon event so that we could get that interest before these announcements are made. And you can get a taste of all of that is to come there by viewing the full conference schedule. You'll see the various different keynotes that are being given there, the various different session topics as well. So definitely want to implore you, or if you happen to be in the Stockholm area and while this is going on, definitely, we encourage you to go check this out in person for that experience. It's sure to be amazing. So it's been mentioned here, Jasmine, you talked about this during the overall agenda, that as part of this hackathon, it's not just building something cool, but also demonstrating learning. And we're going to be doing that through the form of an online challenge. You've probably seen some of these if you've been involved in a Microsoft-focused hackathon before, but these will take place on Microsoft Learn, and I can't really say more about it until it's launched. So that's kind of another one of those hints. But if you're familiar with the Microsoft Learn platform, there will be something Fabric focused that's going to land here on the 24th of September. And that's going to give you all the details. So while we are taking registrations, you can begin working on your projects today. There will be this requirement to complete the skilling challenge that goes along with this. And that will not open until September 24th. So not meaning to be confusing there. It's just this timings with upcoming events and things like that. We want to make sure you're all on board. So it gets us to the next thing. What exactly are we asking everyone to build here, Jasmine, in terms of this overall hackathon? The big thing that we're looking at for judging criteria, regardless of the category, which we're going to go into in just a moment, is the key elements that'll sort of get you, a higher likelihood of placing in one of these categories, which of course the number one thing is alignment to one of the hackathon categories. So we'll go into these in more detail, but these include things like Fabric AI innovations, real-time intelligence in Microsoft Fabric-based solutions, integrations with Postgres, SQL, and Cosmos DB. You'll notice that interesting sub-theme there. Then, of course, we'll be looking at just the innovation and impact. And Jasmine, I know like last year we had some really interesting projects that came about specifically called out in this area. I don't know if there's any of those that we wanted to mention, or if there's one that comes to mind when I bring that up.
I mean, yeah, I am thinking about our grand prize winners who we got to meet at FabCon, the inaugural FabCon, the builders of PI Innovators, and they came all the way from Macedonia to meet us and to come to FabCon Europe. And so they are continuing to work on their project. And it was just really cool to see Paul and I were both judges, and it was really cool to see all the really neat ways that people were innovating and building with Fabric and AI. So why shouldn't we do this again? We want to see more ideas.
Exactly. Yeah. Seriously, it was like Christmas opening up those submissions last time around. And I feel like this time around with bigger audience, a more established platform, and of course, more prizes than ever before, it's going to be very, very interesting to see what comes through at the end of this cycle. So the following items are really what we're asking for in terms of hard deliverables. So the biggest one here being documentation and reproducibility. And what we mean by this, we're going to ask you to try to submit your project in a way like with a open source GitHub repo that's written in the way that lets us not only understand what you've done, but would allow someone who's uninitiated to be able to take that project and reproduce it. And from what we know and have learned from our previous hackathon, people do this. So you're not just building content and showcasing it for the sake of competing in a hackathon. You also could be enabling the next wave of Fabric developers and solutions by opening and enabling that documentation and reproducibility in your submission. And then finally, a video demonstration. And this is going to help us quite a bit because gives you that, moment of being able to talk about, really show the project in action, but also that can serve as something that we can use, provided, if you have a truly innovative solution and something that maybe we want to talk about more from the Microsoft perspective, we can leverage those and use those in future social media publications and things like that, which we're looking forward to doing. So we're not necessarily judging you on the quality, but of course, we'll pay attention to that. But we want to make sure that you're showcasing what it does, really make it visible to us how that thing is working and showing it in action and in life, how it's actually working there. And that'll give us what we're looking for there. So moving into the categories, the first one, and this is the grand prize. So this is the biggest prize that we are offering. It's pretty open-ended, but it's a great way to start here. There's $2,500 on the line for you and potentially your team if you're submitting as a team. And this is simple. It could really align to any of our categories or across multiple, but would be the best of the best solution. So out of the full amount of solutions that will come through, we're going to sort of, it's difficult to do this, but somehow there will be only one. And Jasmine, what do you think about that? I'm just thinking back, like the last hackathon that we did, arriving on that final one was probably the hardest decision.
Yeah, I think we were all kind of going back and forth on that, and I think it was really cool to see. I think it's a good problem to have at the end of the day, right? So like have so many finalists to choose from. So I think that no matter what you build, like you should always be proud of what whatever outcome you get from this hackathon, or whatever outcome you get from being a participant. You should be 100% proud, because we were so super impressed with everybody. But of course, as Paul said, there can only be one.
And with this, and you'll kind of notice a pattern here as we go through the additional categories. There's the opportunity for social media recognition. Again, we may reuse your GitHub or video assets there, or maybe even ask you to come in and record something special walking through that. An opportunity to be featured in a Microsoft blog post following with the winner announcements. And this one, actually, everybody, I believe, gets this, is the Microsoft participation badge. So there will be something for everyone. So did want to mention that. And again, you can go into more details by heading back over to the DevPost landing page at microsoftfabric.devpost.com for more details and see this official wording there for yourself again. Next, we have one that's going to be kind of familiar from our previous hackathon, and that is the Best Microsoft Fabric plus AI Innovation. And this is, I like this one a lot because it takes my favorite things, Fabric and AI, and sort of puts them together. And what a fun way to, challenge our participants here, because we're really opening this up. We're not asking you to use a specific AI tool or saying something that does only retrieval augmented generation or something like that. This is really open to your own creativity here. Anything that technically is leveraging any aspect of AI alongside Fabric would be considered here. We've given some ideas here that include things like using the RAG architecture, training, deployment of custom models, doing things like anomaly detection, predictive forecasting. And what's exciting here too, which we'll get to in a moment, Jasmine, is we're offering free access to Azure OpenAI again, as we did in the previous hackathon. So no Azure subscription needed. Combine that with the fact that you can get a free Fabric trial account details at microsoftfabric.devpost.com. And you have all the tools to build these Fabric plus AI innovations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, one thing to just note here, Paul. So it says here additional consideration will be given if you are able to document how you are able to accomplish your solution using any of the available co-pilots in Microsoft Fabric. So keep that in mind as you build.
So yes, and that could be anything. If it helped you generate a query, if you're using something like the new new features for report generation, spinning up a dashboard in a click or a prompt away. All of those are things that we'd love to hear how you're utilizing those. Mithilesh asks in the chat, will there be a sandbox with all resources to try? The short answer to that is yes. And you can get more details on both how to activate the Fabric trial at microsoftfabric.devpost.com, in addition to how to activate the Azure OpenAI proxy. And I believe the short version of this, and hopefully our producer can get this link in the chat because it's nowhere else in our deck, which would be at aka.ms/tryfabric, will get you access to a 60-day trial with Microsoft Fabric that should be more than enough to allow you to accomplish the needs of this hackathon. And there we go. Link is in the chat. Thank you. Thank you to our dear producer there. All right, so moving along to the next one. So if you've been keeping up to date with Fabric and you followed the announcements from Microsoft Build, you know that in addition to being the single data and analytics platform, Fabric also has now the real-time intelligence, or RTI as it's sometimes referred to, which is basically the one-stop place for taking in streaming data sources or live data sources, being able to aggregate them and utilize things like KQL to query those that data while it's in flight. Similar to the previous category, it's $1,500 USD plus all the other bells and whistles of recognition, blog post opportunity, and the participation badge. But this really opens up a lot of interesting things here because for RTI, you're not really that far of a step away. If you're just bringing in some sort of real-time data source, you could append this. You could be building an AI solution, but maybe you want to do something with some sort of real-time data. Or even with our databases, I want to say RTI actually becomes the ingestion point for things like change data capture, which we'll talk about that in a moment as we get closer. But the key point here is we want to look for ways of leveraging real-time intelligence inside of your solution. And this is completely open-ended as long as you're using any of the faceted features that are contained within that feature functionality in Fabric. And want to open it up to say as well, we are looking at, in addition to use of Copilot, whether you're doing things like open source integrations across real-time providers like Apache Kafka or AMQP, you could even go a step further if you wanted to, because we want Fabric to be the place for all data, regardless of where it is, and that could be in another cloud. It doesn't have to be the Azure cloud. So cross-cloud and hybrid cloud integrations are also something that we're looking at here. So you can have streaming data coming from another cloud service, perhaps, and ingesting that in the Fabric. Those will all be considered for this particular category. So awesome. And now this is going to get us into what I would say a theme that you'll start to notice are database-focused categories. And we'll kick off the first one with Postgres.
Yes. So I'll take it from here. So our first database category is using Azure Database for PostgreSQL. And just to read it out loud, a real-world solution that uses Azure Database for Postgres as an OLTP main transactional database. And the transactional data has to be offloaded to Fabric for near real-time analytics. So there's multiple ways to do this. So you could use the event streaming connector for Azure Database for PostgreSQL, or even use data flows, or in the Data Factory workload, notebooks, or Data Factory pipelines. And so data landing in Fabric can be used in near real-time intelligence scenarios as things like anomaly detection, predictive maintenance and other predictive scenarios, or personalized recommendations against others. So there are some things to get the wheels turning and some ideas that you can think about on how to implement Postgres. I know at least one of you is a Postgres fan out here. So if you have a database lying around somewhere, you've been sitting on some data, yeah, me too. Here's a perfect time to really bring that into the mix.
Just here too, right? Like you've mentioned a lot of things here that may be new to folks, like maybe folks don't know what an event stream is, or data flows. Could be their first time hearing that. The nice thing is, over on the DevPost page, where these categories are also basically rewritten verbatim, there are links off explaining those things. So I just wanted to kind of get ahead of that in case anybody's like, what are they talking about? How can you can learn this, and it'll all be in the challenge as well that's coming on the 24th.
Exactly. So don't feel like overwhelmed with this all new stuff. You have plenty of time to learn and lots of resources to learn. And we are here with you every step of the way. We can talk a little bit more about that in detail. So for this particular category, you can get up to $1,500 USD, of course, social media recognition, opportunity to be featured in a Microsoft blog post, in the winner announcements, and of course, a badge. So I'm really excited to see your solutions out there for this particular category, because I haven't seen a lot of Postgres in Fabric solutions. I know they're out there, but I haven't gone looking. So I'm looking to see what you all build. So let's move on to the next one. Yeah. The next one is best SQL and AI integration, a real world solution that is built on Microsoft Fabric that leverages Azure SQL Database or SQL Server and augmented by AI capabilities. So things like mirroring, event streams, change data capture, connected for Azure SQL Database, using ingestion techniques such as data flows, notebooks, data factory pipelines, and AI-driven analytics and insights. So for any of you Azure SQL fans out there, or even SQL Server, which also does work on-prem with Fabric, this might be a category that you might want to check into. Again, those of you who have a database, maybe a little demo database that's been sitting out there and you've just been waiting for that perfect opportunity, now's the time. So many ways to integrate into Fabric. And again, with a similar category prizes here, $1,500 US, social media recognition, as well as placed on a blog post and a participation badge. Also, one thing to keep in mind here, all the databases I'm covering in these categories, they all have free trials. The Azure SQL one in particular does offer a free trial, like a free database for a free server for essentially for life. And it comes with one database, and all the cool features that are coming out in SQL right now, for example, and actually even Postgres, like the ability to use PG Vector, integrate with Azure AI Search. They all are available to you on this free tier. So definitely check it out. We also have a question in here before I continue on. CB asks, is there a min or max number of team members per team?
So yeah, I think we're looking at capping the teams at three. Three is the maximum that we're looking at there. So great question. We of course encourage you to work with others, and we'll actually give you some resources if you're looking for someone online to join up in your team, which we actually had a lot of success with that in the previous hackathon. We'll show you some great places where you can find some of the other folks who may be looking for a partner. If you are wanting to buddy up with someone to sort of learn and work together, that is a possible outcome of this hackathon. So we'll share some of that as well. But great question. And also, Jasmine, when you're mentioning like using some of these additional features inside of databases, of course, the extensibility of Postgres, using things like PG Vector, and of course, we would say, yeah, let's utilize anything in these, even if that includes like the new vector support and Azure SQL. And as we get to our next category, I know there's vector support there as well. So great way to probably, you can see how it's very easy to build a solution that just based on the database could get you to the real-time category, could get you to the AI solution category, and really any solution could get you to the grand prize category. So there's a lot of ways you could think of building a solution that puts you in multiple categories, and sort of increase your chances of winning across there.
Yeah, of course. So with that, let's get on to the last category. So the next one is Azure Cosmos DB with Microsoft Fabric integration. So a real world solution that is built on Fabric leveraging Azure Cosmos DB. So this could also involve mirroring for enabling analytics and Power BI on Cosmos DB data, event streams, change data capture connector for Cosmos DB, or even integration techniques such as data flows or data factory pipelines. One thing I want to also just mention here that this category is not looking for solutions that are using a notebook. So, we mentioned in the other categories, the other two database categories, that you could use a notebook as a way of ingestion. Just keep in mind that this is not not allowed here. So just want to make sure that you all see that distinction here as well. But there's still a lot of plenty ways to ingest your data here in Cosmos DB. Specifically the NoSQL connector here, which has come out with a bunch of things, as Paul was mentioning, a native vector for support in Azure Cosmos DB, NoSQL, as well as MongoDB, Azure Cosmos DB for Mongo, and all kinds of cool stuff. The new disk ANN algorithm that's been added in there. It's been really cool. People have been really excited about that. Really neat things that you can do with, all three of these databases. And again, just to clarify, or just to repeat, we have the same price structure here. $1,500 USD, social media recognition, as well as a place on the blog post and participation badge. I see we have a couple questions here before we continue on. So for any guidelines or course or a structure of just a hackathon, definitely head to Microsoft fabric.devpost.com. And just I see another question here about Copilot. At this time, I'm not sure if Copilot is available in the Fabric trial, but you can refer to the Microsoft Docs for specifics on that.
Yeah, I believe that we offer the trial at a larger capacity now than before, but it still does not include the Copilot features in the trial. So that is the distinction. So I want to point out here that we want to hear the stories of people utilizing Copilot, but at the same time, we want to have a level competitive playing field. So we won't let those things be like the deal breaker if we notice that someone's making use of the trial without that. But again, we'd love to ensure that those are being captured in the stories when you're documenting and using your reproducibility steps, because I think those are going to be really important for both. I'm interested to see how it's using personally. And I think also for others just to know that that tooling is out there and, wow, what could I have accomplished had I had this, that sort of thing. I think that's going to generate a lot of interest and excitement. So thank you for pointing that out, Aziz. That is important. You may not have access to Copilot, but we as judges are hearing this, and we want to make sure that during the judging period, we are looking at these levelly and not using that necessarily as a wide differentiator. I see a great question here. Can I join having little to no background?
And the answer to that is that you can have as much or as little background as you come with. Come as you are, because this is a place, because again, the title says Fabric AI Learning Hackathon. So you get to build and learn. So you are at the right place to do both of those things. So it's okay if you have no background. It's okay if you have a lot of background. We want to see what you can build.
Rawia mentions here too, where can I start from, or where you can suggest a roadmap for things to be clearer? I would say the single point for all things is going to be the Microsoft Fabric.devpost.com is going to have everything. And as far as the learning materials go that are going to be part of that skilling challenge component, on September 24th, that will be made a bit more clear. But the answer to your question, sort of as Jasmine implied here, you're in the right place, because we've just kicked off this hackathon 34 minutes ago. So you know more than anybody if you've been part of this at this point in time. And if you're looking to, if you don't have that experience with Fabric, I wouldn't use that as a deal breaker, because was there 11 weeks of hacking where you can sort of pick up those skills and put those to the test. And I know in our previous hackathon, it was less than half of that time. It was like 4 or 5 weeks. And we had quite a few people who had picked it up for the first time, and we're doing some really amazing things there. So I feel highly confident that we're going to not only have the resources available to make anyone jump in regardless of skill level successful, but you're also going to have the time to complete and build something truly compelling and innovative, given the time frame of this hackathon.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Welcome.
But that's a great segue, because if you were to ask the question, well, how do I want to continue? I want more. I want more than this. I don't want just this live stream of information. I want everything that can come after that. Well, we'll give you a few resources here. The first of which is the Fabric community. And this is important because the Microsoft Fabric community is always on. So it's kind of like a 24/7 support area where you can go to ask questions really about any of the Fabric workloads. And these go not just into all up Fabric, they go into the specific workloads. So you can ask very niched questions. You typically receive an answer within 48 hours or so. In addition, this is where you're going to hear about all the latest product announcements. So all those announcements and feature updates coming from FabCon are going to be mentioned here, just to give you sort of a visual of what this looks like. If you've not joined the community, it's a typical sort of forum structure. You can head on over here, create yourself a new account, and jump right in. But that's not all. We also, as I'm mentioning, you can go into the niche of the workload. You can actually talk about just the hackathon if you want, because we have a Fabric community forum focused purely on hackathon activities. This was highly successful in our previous hackathon. In fact, it got to the point people were writing almost like mini tutorials that would be about the things that would probably be beneficial to the hackathon. And we've archived that, so you've got the ability to benefit from everything that was learned during that time frame, as well as everything that's to come. So you can join that now, and that's going to look like the following. Great place to get started. The first post that's pinned here at the top will tell you everything about the hackathon, give you a few links that you can jump into. And of course, you can see a lot of the conversations that happened previously. So definitely suggest this resource. And then another one that we've seen quite a bit of, Jasmine, and I'll let you speak to this, the Fabric Career Hub.
Yeah. So essentially, if you're learning about Fabric as you will, like through this hackathon, and you're like, I want more. I want to take this to the next level. I want to get certified. I want to know how to use this in my everyday, life, my productivity, or, really level up your productivity in, data analytics, data engineering, whatever you might be doing. Definitely join the Fabric Career Hub. There's things from exam prep for certification, skills challenges, role guidance, things like that. There's lots of things to do in Fabric. And so this really mapped to a lot of different kind of like hats that you can wear.
Yeah, I love when you come here. Not only is there a bunch of, I would say, inspirational resources, testimonials of people who've changed their career with Fabric. It's really a kind of a, if you really want to think about it, it's a one-stop place that's really focused around getting the appropriate certification that can help you stand out on that career path. So you're going to see a lot of guidance here that is going to help you become successful in learning the materials for the DP600 Fabric Analytics Engineer certification, which is something where it's not a requirement of this hackathon, but I can assure you this is going to set you up for that, especially after you complete the skilling components and really build something hands-on with Fabric. I would say you're probably not very far off from sitting for that exam. And I don't know what opportunities we'll have for that coming up, but I'm hopeful that around the Ignite timeframe, we might be able to see some opportunities light up there. But and I know a lot of people attend Ignite to get certified. So this could be that springboard that's preparing you for Ignite, and certification opportunities that'll be there. But it doesn't just stop there. You can also come here, find out about Fabric Analyst in a Day events that might be happening in your local communities. I know just this weekend in Houston, we had an event of this type. In addition to these learning rooms, which are kind of like virtual sessions with subject matter experts, MVPs, and that sort of thing, where you can discuss Fabric things, get help, have a study partner for the exam, and that sort of thing. So highly recommend checking out the Career Hub. And Of course, we're trying to be modernized here. We want to give you a 24/7 chat-based ability to get in contact with us, the organizers, subject matter experts, and possibly even the judges. And that's available on Discord. So if you've not used Discord, this is kind of like it's a live chat flow, kind of feels like a modernized IRC for folks who aren't using this. I'm sure everyone in the younger generations has probably seen this. I know it comes across in a lot of classroom instruction these days, but typical sort of chat format. And you can see all the action starting here inside of Discord here today. And we've got a number of channels here to discuss specifically about the hackathon, as well as a team building channel here as well. So if you're looking to partner with individuals across DevPost, you can find those all here. So as we're going more into some of this tooling and support for devs, this one I'm really happy about, Jasmine. We've got an Azure OpenAI proxy. So that means you can use Azure OpenAI services without an Azure account. Now you still need a GitHub account, but that's okay. You'd need that anyway for submitting the documentation and reproducibility steps, or likely need that. Say we will also accept submissions to GitLab. I'll just put that out there, or similar types of hosting services. But all you have to do this, if you've got an existing GitHub username, it's actually so easy. I'll show you. You would head over to the URL we just flashed on screen. I'll bring that back up for folks that missed it. We'll bring you to this page, log in with GitHub, and you now have access to Azure OpenAI. It's that easy. But you might be wondering, what exactly do I do? Well, the instructions are sort of written out here, but I'll skip down here to the playground. So you can skip over to this playground link, which will open up the following, which is an ability for you to live and kind of interactively work with those Azure OpenAI services. So currently we're offering the GPT-4o model. I've given it an example prompt here of what type of projects would be a good fit for Microsoft Fabric and AI Learning Hackathon. I like the responses here, actually, because if you're looking for creativity, ask an LLM. Sometimes that will deliver some results. But because not only does it tell you the idea or the theme and then give you a basic idea, it also tells you the technologies you could use to achieve that. And I will say, given this particular prompt and response, this is good information. But you can utilize this for anything. You could actually, as you'll see inside these instructions, if you're looking to programmatically make calls, there's examples on how to do that as well from, say, Python or utilizing a notebook. And you can actually build this into your solutions as part of this hackathon. But it doesn't stop there. We've got the wonderful DALL-E 3 is also supported here. So you can come in, select the model, and provide that a prompt, and it should generate images for you. So you can think of a lot of creative ways to utilize that as well. So noticing a few more questions rolling into the chat here, Jasmine. Where should we start here?
Yeah, just want to add a little funny question here. Someone said they haven't heard IRC in a long time. So yeah, me neither. But I do know those days. I do remember those days. Hattie asked, Fabric account. Hattie was asking about Fabric account registration. It is applicable for personal accounts. So if you don't have a Fabric account right now, you can go ahead and sign up for a free trial at aka.ms try Fabric. And yeah, you can just totally available to everybody. So this Fabric Hackathon is anybody can join in any level, any background of in Fabric.
And do let us know, if this happened in the last one. We thought everybody would be able to sign up, no issues. We had a few people from certain locales, and they reached out actually in the community forums, and believe it or not, we were able to sort of help them out in the background there to get them access. So if you do have any of those things, remember, we have these support channels here specifically so that we can get ahead of those and any other types of issues. So we're sort of nearing the conclusion. So I'll preface this by saying, if you have questions that you want to ask now, think about that. We've got a few more minutes, and we'll try to adhere and address those questions. But Jasmine, we'll definitely want to make sure people know what's coming up next. I know we've mentioned this already, but we're going to reiterate again here.
Yeah. So kind of thinking back to the full schedule, recall that on the 24th, that's next Tuesday, submission, you can submit your hack. But remember that also the skills challenge also opens that day. So be sure if you already get hacking and you already have a solution ready to submit on the 24th. Remember that you need to finish up the skills challenge as well. But also take your time. Like, if that's really cool if you finish over the weekend, but also what else can you do at that point? You have so much time, right? The next thing that we will have coming up, we do have an AMA coming up tomorrow. So if you have any more questions in mind, please be sure to and you want to, or you just want to hang out with us a little bit more, you can do that tomorrow on the 17th. After that is FabCon Europe. That's that's also happening on September 24th. So around this time, you'll probably see a lot more people registering too. So if you are still looking for a team member, this might be the time, another chance for you to find some folks around the globe to be able to build together. And then after that, on October 8th is our next live stream. That's Gen AI with Fabric. And after that, we have our SQL database in Fabric on the 29th. On the 31st, we have Cosmos DB and mirroring. The 5th, we have Azure database for Postgres with Fabric, and as well on December 7th, how to submit your submission. So if you are ready to do that on around this time, and you just want to walk with us to do it together, and just put a stamp on your final submission, join us. Then you can have a little submission party. Also, just want to keep in mind that this schedule is subject to change. We have a little surprise live stream here and there. Also in the Discord, the dev post will have announcements on any office hours that me or Paul or anybody on at Microsoft might hold. We for example, I will be walking you through on how to sign up for the Azure SQL database free offer. So if anybody is thinking about using for the SQL category, I'll be there to walk you through on how to do that for free. We'll also have a couple other events and things. So the schedule will be subject to change. And of course, you can always look at the Hackathon dev post link for details on what's coming up next.
You just pointed out to me, sorry, I had to fix the deck right here on the live stream. One of those dates is already subject to change. So the submitting and preparing, I think I had it as December 7th.
Yes, because December 10th is when December 16th are when the winners are announced.
Yeah, and Ignite would be over. I'm like, oh my gosh, this isn't making sense. So I double checked. Yeah. It is November 7th. So sorry about that if you saw this flashed a couple times. But do keep in mind these things may be subject to change as we're eking into that schedule a little more. But yes, do want to make sure the how to submit session will be 5 days before the submit date on November 7th. So thank you for checking that.
Yeah. Thank you for making that change, Paul. We do have a question in here. If a startup were to apply, are there any specific details to note when applying?
So this is an interesting question because we do have an article out there. If you go onto Google or Bing and type in Microsoft Fabric Access for Startups, you will get a URL that's going to show you what I would say is a bit different process for obtaining the Fabric trial. And the reason for that is we showcase steps for utilizing existing organizational accounts. So the answer is possibly, and it would depend on how your startup is set up. But the other thing, and I don't know the full answer to this, Jasmine, I need your help answering this. We probably want to know about it. So the question would be, what sort of resources, if you were a startup building a Fabric solution, how do you get on the Microsoft radar? And there's probably places for support for startups and things like that. What would we suggest there?
I mean, well, the first is Microsoft for startups, and that is also bound into this program we have called the Founders Hub. And I know that there are a lot of folks who are Founders Hub participant who are using Microsoft Fabric. So this might be something of interest to you if you're thinking, oh, I actually have a startup idea where I wanted to actually use Fabric, and so this hackathon is a perfect time for me to do both of those things. You might want to also consider the Founders Hub as well.
And that was that URL just for folks, foundershub.startups.microsoft.com. We'll get you that access. So yeah, just want to make sure everyone has that URL there.
So I see a question here. Is there any issue if I choose to go solo, or if I choose solo, can I change this later? Of course, Aziz. So if you decide like, oh, I'm going to go this alone, I'm going to start building, I'm going to start hacking, and then you meet some folks along the way, you're like, I actually want to grow my team. That is absolutely fine, because all it really matters is who is on your submission form when submissions open. So just keep that in mind.
I just want to say, what's awesome? Before we started this live stream, there were 42 people registered for this hackathon. There's now 90. So we're at a doubling growth rate. So this is awesome, and I'm excited about that. Thank you for everyone who's excited and participating, joining us for the journey. It's exciting. There's already this many people coming along for this. I can't wait. That means 90 Christmas presents, perhaps, around the November 12th submission time frame.
Right, exactly. No, that's really, really cool.
So do want to make sure, is there any other questions? And just to put that out there too, if if you gain a team member along the way and you're like, oh, I missed the cool live stream, don't forget, just as Jasmine mentioned, the AMAs that'll be taking place tomorrow and on October 8th will be great. We're consciously doing those in order to catch people who may be joining us after this date. So definitely want to put that out there. Can I use it with a personal Gmail account? So for Microsoft Fabric, I don't think so, because you're going to have to at some point utilize an organizational account. More details will be mentioned on the aka.ms/tryfabric link. So I don't think so. And do reach out to us if you need any assistance in onboarding there. We'll be more than happy to help. And as we're waiting just to see, and want to make sure we've got a few more minutes left here. So if you've got questions, roll those in. I'll also mention too, it's kind of the obligatory. If you're wanting to follow along with us, and this is a great tactic here too for the hackathon. Jasmine and I will be sharing the latest and greatest updates as things are coming out from now until Ignite. So definitely a plug here to follow us both on LinkedIn. A great place to kind of keep in touch with things that are ongoing. You also reach out to us, ask us questions. There's nothing against that. We're here to help.
Yeah, we'll be on LinkedIn and Discord and the forum.
Everywhere, yes. Exactly. Anywhere you can find us.
Yeah, you're everywhere. You can't get rid of us.
Excellent. So going once, twice, give a few more seconds here. I want to make sure we get these questions. I like this. That's a different PD. This is not me. Just want to mention that. Not Paul DiCarlo. PD mentions, don't disqualify yourself with a Gmail account before the competition starts. #Outlook. Yes. Cool. Well, if there's not any, look, we got two more. Since the last refresh, that was two more people have registered. That's amazing. I love seeing that. Well, I know Jasmine and I will be hanging out in the Discord chat. We'll be perusing the Microsoft Fabric forums. Please provide a URL where you can find teammates. So I'll give you some advice. There are two ways to do that. So number one will be on the Fabric community forums. A number of people had success by actually posting that they were looking for teammates. You can find some of these as you spelunk through here. But this is one place where you can make that call. Like. And in the example, if I could find it, there was a few of them. Here, there was a nice thread here, actually. People would kind of respond with what their background was, what they're working on, how they could assist, maybe what their idea is. And you'll see some of these sort of broke out into additional threads where people actually formed these teams and competed in the hackathon. But of course, the other way to do that, potentially in real time, is the Fabric team building channel here within the DevPost Discord server. So that should get you that access as well.
See a question here. Do I need an Outlook account for the Fabric account? You will need a Microsoft account, essentially, Gift. So I would definitely recommend you go to the akas.as try Fabric short link just to get full instructions on how to access the trial as well. So great questions, great questions. Yeah, and again, like as Paul mentioned, let us know if you run into any issues. So of course you have Discord, you have forums, you have even LinkedIn to let us know if you're running into issues. We can help and block you.
Cool. We're nearing the end of the live stream here. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, we agree. Gift mentions strongly believe this would be a great opportunity to learn and do some amazing, great work. And I'll tell you, Jasmine and I have talked about this. We're excited about this day because it's not just the end result, the opening of the Christmas presents. It is the journey that gets us there. I think you might assume that we as judges already know everything. We actually learn. We learn with you all. We learn from you all. Sometimes the kind of issues you may be encounter, maybe things like we're like, hey, how do we think about that? We need to go find an expert somewhere in the Fabric team or someone within Microsoft to help us. So it's a huge opportunity for everybody. And I just want to make sure that you realize, don't think about this as like it's you competing. This is definitely an engaging sort of, think about it like a group. We're doing this as a community and as a team together. And when you sort of view it that way, the benefits are really intangible that you get just as being a participant in these kinds of challenges.
Yeah, exactly. Like being able to learn a new skill, a new platform, and build something with that. Like you should be 100% proud of yourself. Like that's what a win,
Awesome. Well said. Well, we are now at the end, so I'm going to cue our producer that I believe we are signing off here in the next few seconds or so. So I just want to say thank you to everyone for joining us for this kickoff. We'll be keeping people posted and up to date on our LinkedIn about the next events and things like that. And of course, we'll see you in the support channels on DevPost and the Fabric community forums.
Thanks, everybody.